So I want very much, I'm so happy to introduce this artist presenter to you this evening. Mary Bryant and I have had a few conversations on the phone that led to a lot of really good feelings and talking about art and the therapeutic benefits that each one of us receives from doing art, that it matters not. In fact, all of her paintings here today are on sale for like $2.50 because she's not concerned about the money at all. It's the therapeutic value. So I've already chosen this one for my living room and stuff. So I happened to find on Facebook a very interesting artist statement, and Mary wrote it herself. And I was trying to figure out what I could say about this woman because we had connected so well. So I found this and I decided I'd just read it. Painting has always been within me, and this is Mary speaking. It is my passion, a means of creative expression, my voice at times that I have no words for, a visual product of how I perceive the world from inside and out. My work, I have been told, is a visual journey of the life path I have traveled, a gift in so many ways which I desire to share. As time unfolded, I have had experience with several styles of painting, always challenging myself with different techniques. It continues to keep painting more interesting to do. I have taken my own photographs to use to paint from. My work has come full circle these past few years. I've come back to my roots of representing in a more realistic manner of nature, implementing techniques I have learned. My painting journey began in 1989, studying under a local artist from Pavilion, New York, while living with my family in Mount Morris, New York, on a dairy farm. From there, I received an associate's degree in commercial illustration at MCC, then on to Alfred College of Ceramics, where I received my BFA and in 2D study. Through the program at Alfred University, I had the privilege to study abroad in England and in Italy. Over the years, my travels have led me to the Berkshires, Catskills, Adirondacks, strengthening my connection to nature. I moved back to Western New York, where I lived the past 20 years. Throughout all of this time, I continued to paint and to exhibit my work. My art path has led me on a wonderful journey in so many ways. I'm so happy to have you all meet Mary.
Oh. Thank you very much, Jane, for inviting me and for reading my artist statement. And so now I don't have any more left that I need to tell you. You can look at my paintings and enjoy them. No, thank you very much. And thank you to all in the club and those that are visiting for welcoming me and allowing me to share my passion, my lifelong passion with you. This is very exciting to be able to do. Yes, I start again. My name's Mary Bryant. I now live in Gates, New York. As mentioned in my artist statement, I lived on a dairy farm for 12 years in my 20s. I didn't actually grow up. I lived in at the dairy farm at that time. And that was really my first introduction to the beauty of nature. I came from the city to the suburbs, and when I made my way out to a farm, it was a whole new adventure. But it introduced me to the beauty. My backyard was Letchworth State Park, and a lot of time spent there while I was in that area. Like Jane said, in 1989 is when I really got serious about my painting. I'd always drawn, I'd always painted since I was a child. I know my mom has told me a story over and over again that she would somehow, with a family of 9, find the money to buy me a sketchbook and colored pencils. And I asked her, how did you manage that? She says, I snuck it into the grocery money. And she says, that's the only way you would stay in one place, if I gave that. I had a lot of energy. But she always encouraged me throughout the years. So has many of my very close friends and family, which really, along the way, has made a big difference. I met a man in 1989 that was introduced to me by another artist named John Peasley. I don't know if anyone from this area is familiar with who he was. I look back now and I know what a gift that was. I was 26 years old. I brought a painting I was working on my own that had a portrait and a figure in it, my daughter. And I brought it to a toll painting class. You know, you paint on wood. And the woman that was the instructor there says, I have to send you to John Peasley. And that's how I met him. And for the next 7 years, he taught me how to paint. And he taught me how to paint portraits, and he taught me how to paint landscapes in the very old Rembrandt style. And that was a gift. And I look back now, at the time I didn't know. I was a kid, loved art, and this man was taking time with me to teach me it. From there, I went to MCC, 2 years associate degree in commercial illustration. Took a year off from school and went back to work because at that time we lost our dairy farm. As many people during that period of time may be familiar, that was the time when the milk prices plummeted and many small dairy farms went down. Well, after a year of working and my ex-husband getting back up on his feet, I went back to college. And at that time, it was a decision, do I want to be practical and continue to study something that would be besides art, that would give me a job of sorts, or do I want to continue with art? And I decided the art is what kept me in college. That is why I was there. So I got into Alfred College of Ceramics and studied 2D, interdisciplinary, printing, photography, painting was my primary focus. And I had the opportunity, which was a huge deal. I had 2 young children, too, while I was going to school. And I worked. I worked before I started school. I ran a beauty shop. And during school, throughout that period of time, on and off, as I could fit in my schedule around the family and college, I worked. And so that was my life. And the idea of leaving my children was extremely difficult for me to come to a decision on. It took me a year to decide whether or not I was going to apply to be an exchange student. I'd never left my family. And finally, one time, my mother came to me, again, my mother, big influence, and said, Mary, you need to go. You need to go. We had family on both sides around the area, very close, and my children were a little older. She said, they're going to be okay. You go do this. So I spent 5.5 months in England, Brighton. Saw so many things, I can't even begin. I could go on for a long time about that. It was an eye-opening experience, and it opened my mind to what the world had to offer, not only in the arts, but really what was out there. And it was a fantastic experience. I finished that up, went back to Alfred, and in the last semester I had a professor named Mario Prisco. And I don't know if anyone, again, is familiar. This is from way back in the day. He was the dean of the College of Alfred for 20 years. He retired, and he was teaching drawing and painting classes. And he was my painting professor the last year. And he came to me and said, we have a small group going to Perugia, Italy for a month. You should join us. And I did. So I was very courageous back then. But I was following my art dream.
How old were you at that time?
I was 29 years old at that time. Yep. And I followed that dream. I found that dream, and I had the support of my family in order to be able to do it, or I would not have been able to do it. And for that, I'm forever grateful. So after coming back from Europe and finishing up college, life happened. Things were busy. I still painted. I had opportunities throughout my years to, like I said, to show at different locations. Like Jane said, I lived in the Berkshires for a period of time, and I also spent 5 years in the Adirondack Mountains. and a short time in the Catskills. And throughout all this time, I had little opportunities, so I took them, but I continued to paint. I squeezed it in. So you can imagine what kind of life. Many nights I'd stay up while my kids are sleeping when they were really young and do my artwork for school. And it was my passion. I had it in me. If I didn't do it for a period of time, I was missing something. I was missing a part of myself. So it was almost not a choice. And very young, I figured out as a young preteen, this is part of who I am. I knew this is part of who I am. This is what makes me me. And so life went along. I shone here and there over the years. And eventually, like was said, I ended up back here. And again, for 9 years, I shone at Go Art. I was part of Go Art for 9 years, the past 9 years. And I got involved with their shows there. And then the last year, I finally had an opportunity with all life situations to be able to fully dive into my art. My husband Mark is here, and he has a big part in that. But I have the time, opportunity, energy, and ability and desire to continue and to jump into it full flash. So this past year, I put a lot into the business end of art. I really learned a bunch, and I put a lot of time and effort. And I've done more steady painting in this last year and few months than I have consistently in a lot of my years of painting. And for that, I'm very grateful. What kept me going? Like I had spoken, it was just something I had to do. Within my style of painting, there's been a lot of variety over the years. I know some artists work like that, but I've seen more that stay with the same style over all of their years. They stay consistent. I didn't do that. That wasn't my walk. I had a lot of curiosity, desire to grow as an artist, and very intuitive more than anything. Oh, I want to learn this. Okay, this looks really cool. What's this about? And so I go check it out and do it for a while until I didn't want it and something else came along. So consequently, I've learned a fairly decent. Impressionism was the start, realism. And then I went on to more surrealism. I've done some abstract, expressionistic art. So there's a large variety in my past of artwork over the years. But what I've come back to now is a combination of everything that I've learned has come back together this past year and all come into my paintings at the same time. So you'll see a little bit of different styles in each painting. As I'm working, they're just all coming together. And let's see. Where I'm at right now and have been the last 5 years is my art is definitely more about the creative process. The gift for me is the creative process. That's the gift. It allows me a place to be in a space that's peaceful, that I'm in the moment, that I can focus more than anything that ever. That is the only thing I can focus for a long period of time on, is when I'm painting. And it gives me a reflective time. And having those periods of time is a gift to me. Because when life gets busy, as we all know, and things start happening, it's very hard to find that place. It is, but art allows me to do that. And let's see. I'm looking at notes because I need to, so I apologize. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the paintings that I have behind me. Back when I was in Alfred and went to England, I was introduced to Photoshop. They had not yet had a program in Alfred when I went to Europe. I learned a little bit. They gave us a book and they said, here, learn it. So that's basically how I learned Photoshop, to start and continue. And when I came back from Alfred, they were beginning to put together the program the computer imaging programs. So they were getting the equipment, they were bringing it in, they were setting up teachers. So it was the beginning of it for them. But I loved what I was learning on the computer imaging, so I wanted an independent, I took an independent study. I said, I want to keep doing this. You guys got the computers in here, you're putting stuff together. And for my time period, they developed that program. It was there before I left. And so I continued with that computer editing. Now, I've done this painting right here in 1994. This is very old. It's been sitting in a tote for about 15 years, carried around from many places. I do not recommend that. It was rolled up, it gets a little charred. That is not a thing you really want to do, but that's what I did with this painting. It's not a painting I've ever taken out, I've never shown it, nothing. But I stretched it for this talk because it very well fits into what I wanted to share with you. So this was the beginning of using Photoshop for me in college. I would take my own photographs, scan them onto the scanning bed, do some manipulation, put them together, and I made this image, okay? And then I painted it. And that was the beginning of the process that I continue to do, and I do even more so now. This is actually my daughter, and we visited Buffalo in the city, and she was looking at the reflection in a city window, her reflection. I flipped the reflection, so that was part of, I really wanted to emphasize that idea of a reflection. It was a city street. I took some photographs of kids breakdancing. You can't tell from there, and it's a little charred up, so it's hard. I'm just pointing it out. There was an older man standing up against a pole. That was another photograph. So I combined all these together, and I created this painting with texture and with this type of image. And then I put it aside, and I didn't do a whole lot of this kind of work for a long time. The past 5 years, like I said, I'm starting to bring the computer editing back into my work again. And it's fairly basic. It's not real complicated. There's no AI. There's no trickery. I use curves. I don't know if anyone's familiar with curves, but you stick your finger. Oh, I use my phone a lot. That, again, is difficult for a lot of people, I know, but I'll sit hours on my phone like this. So I use curves. I do have a laptop that I will use occasionally. And other very basic editing tools. And I'll just play with a photo and play with a photo till I get it how I want it before I paint. 5 years ago, I started getting into surreal work a little more, and that's what you're seeing here. And this was the beginning of bringing in the computer again. I wanted to say more about my paintings. As you can see, I played with that in the past, and I'm kind of coming back to it, and that seems to be how it goes. You get involved in something, and then you go ahead, and then you come back to it a little more. That's how it's been for me. And so what I wanted to reflect with this is primarily our connection with nature. A lot of my work now is about our connection with nature and how it resonates both inside and outside. With this, I added a figure because for me, the title is called We Are One. For me, we are connected with nature. We are part of. And by placing one of the figures in the water as being part of the water, and placing one in the sky as being part of the sky, and running the arm down to show that connection once again, it gives it a circle. And the photograph I used in the back is actually from Charlotte Pier. I take a lot of sunset pictures. I love Charlotte Pier. You hit it at the right time of night and walk down there, you get some great pictures. So for these parts, I took a picture of myself. Now, this was done in 2021. We're just coming out of the tail end of isolation of COVID. So I spent a lot of time alone during that period of time. I laid on a bed and I knew what I wanted. I had the concept in mind. So like, how do I make this concept come alive? Took a picture of the top of my head, and then I flopped all that onto a computer and I pieced it together and flipped it around. I came up with an image that was really rough, and I painted from it. So this is, shall I stop for Sally?
I just wanted to ask a question. When you say you came up with an image, do you mean a smaller image?
Yes.
I see, and you use that then to create your painting?
Yes, yes. I actually work off a laptop when I create my images. I have a laptop with a decent sized screen that sits right on a table next to me, and I look at that when I'm working back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Generally, my canvases are bigger, so I'm scaling it. I'm not one to draw grids or anything like that. I just sketch it in rough, look up, look up. And that's how I paint. And then toward the end, I don't look at all. I'm making it what I feel it needs to be. Yes?
So with this one here, you did that on the laptop, you had the vision of it, and then you painted it.
Yes. Yep, that was the beginning of what I do now. It is. Yep, I have it, but I still have to sketch because the canvas is much larger than the picture that I'm looking at. So I still have to visually place it in a just very, I'm not a drawer, okay, I'll tell you that. I'm not one, envy people that can sit for hours and just do these beautiful, gorgeous, lifelike sketches. That's not me, I'm a painter. I'm painting color to make images work. And so I don't like to draw. I hate to say that, but I don't. So my underdrawings are very rough. They're for placement, they're for general forms, they're for perspective if I need to do that. That's my drawings. There's not much more than that to them. Yes, Jane?
That was, you did that painting in 2021.
Yes.
Where was your head at that time?
Okay.
What were you meaning to paint with? I see what I see.
There is a lot of depth in that painting.
Would you mind repeating the question a little bit for the video
Oh.
audience?
Oh, okay. Jane had basically asked what was behind within myself when I was creating that painting. What's behind it in context of what, emotional and thoughts and that type of thing. This painting has a lot of depth to it compared to others. I didn't start showing it till 2 years ago. I held on to it. It's a very personal painting. It was the tail end of COVID. I was extremely isolated during COVID for many reasons. So I spent a lot of time for a year or so alone. And like probably many people did for all the reasons that we needed to. And so I was dealing with that isolated feeling when I started this painting. And I spent many days going to the pier and taking photos. That was my go-to place. I loved it. That was like my sanctuary. I could go there and be outside and enjoy the water. And I took a lot of photos while I was there. So that was the beginning of it. But as I began working on this painting and creating it, the idea of life and death came to mind. The idea of connectedness within ourselves as being two parts. We are not just one kind of place within ourselves. We have many elements to who we are. And that idea came to mind. You know, there's more than one thing happening up here. You know, there's more than one thing happening feeling-wise. It's multiple, you know. And that kind of idea came behind it. But does that answer your question, Jane?
It does.
That's what it was about.
All of us pretty much at some point remember where we were in 2021,
Yeah.
like so many other times in our
Yeah.
lives. And to see that is, for me, that's an arm, it's survival, it's trying to be in a quiet place, the outstretched arm.
Mm-hmm.
And what I can see from here, someone laying on their back and the sun or the moon or whatever's there with the shine and everything, it's wonderful.
Thank you.
It's very deep.
It is yeah. It was a hard one to put out. It took a while.
I give you more than $2.50 for it.
We'll talk after, Jane. So I move on? We good? Okay. Yeah.
Have you shared the medium?
Oh, all my paintings are acrylic. Except for that first one was oil. I worked with oil the first 15 years that I painted, and then probably 18 years ago I switched to acrylics. Dry time was my main motivation. I didn't want to wait for it to dry in between and take so long. And I could get more vibrant colors out of the acrylics. those were two of the main reasons I've switched over to it, and I've been using it ever since. So from here forward, all acrylics. This one here is called Tree of Life. This is another surreal piece. I was trying to bring forth concepts in my artwork. It was more the depth of concepts. That is what I was reaching for this. This is all in the same period of like a year or two I was doing this type of work. This one was, I think, 22. But where I came up with this is, most people know the symbol of the Tree of Life. That's pretty generic. So we know the connection that has between human beings as well as the earth and all of that. So that's pretty general. Most people can relate to that. But what really sparked me to start this painting, it kind of seems minimal now, but it wasn't. This is what started it. I went to Chesapeake Bay with my husband to visit family, and I love picking up driftwood and rocks and shells and all that. Got a whole bunch of collections at home. And I found this piece of driftwood, and it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of driftwood. So it's in the garden and it's hanging out in the house. I'm like, I want to paint that. I want to paint that driftwood. So that was the beginning of what I wanted to do, but the concepts were already coming. And the concept about this is, again, you'll see all of my paintings now particularly have connections with nature. This is where I'm coming, our connections with nature. And this very much is the case. We're rooted in the ground. The driftwood the painting has two sides to it. On the left is more about death, decay, maybe sadness, whatever you want to read into the negative of, or not negative necessarily, but difficult parts of life. And as I was painting this face just appeared. And I kept it. And prior to working on this one, I was doing more abstract work. I was experimenting with mediums. I was experimenting with shape. I was experimenting with form. That's how I look at it. And I learned from that. And now I bring it into my paintings from there forward. And this side, of course, is more about life. The vine that's growing off the dead piece of driftwood. Can't see this, but there are little prints of butterflies flying around in there. And then as I was painting this painting, it was one that I let speak to me about what to do next, more than a lot of my paintings that I do. I don't know if you understand what that means. And as I was painting it, things were showing up, and I was just emphasizing when I was pulling them out. And you can't see as well back there, but there's some real subtle figures in here. You know, a couple holding hands and like little figures like family and that kind of thing. It's just very subtle, but that is something that was coming about as I was working on that painting. And it's a very universal type of image, I think, that most people can relate to. And that's where this painting came from. And I know I'm gonna lose some of you, but. And then I jumped from my surreal back into my very realistic roots. I'm like, I need to ground myself. Let's get back to reality. But what I brought back with it was everything I learned all those years. So there was a little twist to it. Oh, thank you. This is a painting from Forked Lake. My husband and I go camping since I've been with him. And it's tent camping, okay? And it's like up in the Adirondack Mountains. And the last time when we went it was 20 degrees at night. And I told him I'll never come on a 20-degree night again. I'm sorry. I'm rugged, but I'm not that rugged. But we see the most beautiful scenery. And I've used many of my photos I've taken in the Adirondacks for my paintings in these recent years because they're so inspiring.
Now, where in the Adirondacks is that?
This is Forked Lake. You're going to ask him, my husband, if you want to know exactly where it is, because that's not my thing. I can't tell you exactly. Forked. Yeah, Forked Lake. And like I said, these are beautiful, beautiful locations. It's a joy to go there. It's quiet. It's rugged, yes, but it's quiet and peaceful in a way that you don't find most places. And beautiful. It's just beautiful. When I took the photo of this picture that I worked from. My husband and his buddy, who these guys been camping together for over 20 years, so they know each other very, very well. One's on one end, one's in the other. I'm sitting in the middle of the canoe, and they're rowing. I was Queen of Sheba. But I had a camera on my phone, and I'm like, and I shot so many pictures from that. It was really easy sitting in there. And that day, and as they spoke too, who they know well, that was an unusual day because the water was still as glass, and the reflection was like a mirror. And they told me that doesn't happen very often at all, that it's like that. And that's the photos I got is what I worked from for that. And at that point, I started getting into a little more mediums too, gloss mediums, and that's what I've added now. We still good?
Yeah.
Okay, we're still good. So that brings us to what I'm doing now and have for the last year and 3 months. My work has become more bold in colors, more vibrant, more expressive. I try to present a nature image that it has realistic features so that people will recognize them, but at the same time are more surreal and have a more stronger emotional effect on the viewer. Strong, bright colors will do that if you use them properly. And as far as distorting some of the image, there's reasons for that. My final goal with these types of paintings I've been doing the last year and a half, which are different than many I've done in the past, is to hope that the viewer will feel as if not only they're seeing a spot they may recognize, but that they're feeling the presence of place. So they can bring their own experiences to that. And that is my hope. So if there are success in some of these paintings and people are saying, yeah, I know what that feels like to be in that kind of location, and then to me that's success, because that's what I'm trying to portray in my paintings now. I want the feelings to come as much as the visual enjoyment. And that's, I have prints here of the same kind there. This is the last painting. This is most recent. I've done one other, and I'm doing another now. Pardon?
Is the scarlet color, orange color, is that like an underpainting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I
It's
paint.
an underpainting,
Yeah.
and then you allow it to show through in places. And I've seen it before done that way, and it's like startling in a wonderful way. I mean, it just pushes the detail so forward.
Yeah. And it
I
gives
like
it
it
depth
very
too.
much.
Thank you.
Pardon me?
And it brings in more depth to the
Yes.
painting too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, on the poster board, did you
I put.
photograph the painting as it was moving along?
Yes, I have at times done that, and most recently I've started doing it again. For a while I didn't, and then I'm gone back to it. And I had these photos of the process. As I finish a day of painting, I'll take shoot a photo, and then after the next day the same. So I printed them out, as well as the original photograph I worked from and the photograph of what it looked like after I edited it from the computer, so that when you folks get an opportunity to come up here and look, you can actually see the process that I went through as I was creating this painting. And this one's called Winter Dreamscape. And like I said, my paintings this last year, they bring in every technique that I've learned. So there's layering and underpainting, like you're speaking, and there's some what I'm using now, and I have this past year, is modeling paste, so that I can bring in more texture, a selective texture or selective places, not the whole paintings, but selective places. I brought in some gloss medium to give sheen to a very small degree on certain locations, and just certain places I choose as I'm painting. And more recently, I brought into some metallic paint in certain spots, as this one has some. in order to give a different dimension and effect on the painting. And like I said, this is Winter Dreamscape. It's taken from Allegheny State Park, Stone Tower, where, again, we went camping. And we went out on a winter day walk, and we went up to Stone Tower View. And the photo's up there, and that's what it looked like. And it was so peaceful. It wasn't brittle cold, so it was very tolerable. And it just had such a gorgeous beauty. Huh? Oh, he knows. He knows. He wears T-shirts, I wear jackets. That's just how it is. But you can see where I started the process and the beauty that was there. And then as I worked along, trying to bring out that feeling through the way that I worked the painting. Yes?
It looks a little almost like infrared, except you're showing light, not heat, to me.
It's still light, but not heat.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is what I was going for. It is like you're speaking of here, right?
But then the whole thing, the way the lights are against contrast with the small amounts of other colors, it's just like seeing it through a different set of eyes than a
Yes.
normal eye.
Yes. Yes, it is. And this is my eyes with the feelings behind what the experience was and the memory of being there. So that's what it is. Thank you for helping me to come to them words because I wouldn't have otherwise. Yes.
When you use the modeling paste, are you brushing it on, and then how long does it take to dry before you can actually put anything on top of it?
I've been using palette knife.
Okay.
Yeah, for my modeling paste. And it does take a little longer to dry. So like if I've worked with the palette knife, I'll let it dry overnight. I won't go back on it until the next day.
I think it's really, I've worked with modeling paste, I've worked with some of the other texture, like some of the golden texture fiber things, and also using tissue and other materials with, mixed with the acrylic paint and modeled with it.
Ah,
But it's really, the one thing that I've learned is it's absolutely, you've gotta let it dry thoroughly.
you do.
If you paint on top of that stuff, it's gonna fall off your painting eventually.
Yeah, and it gets mushy.
So, yeah, so just, I'll let it go a couple
Yeah.
of days before I mess with it again.
Yeah.
And make sure it's really dry, yeah.
Very good.
I love the movement in this painting. Below
Oh, the
the very vibrant orange and pink, and then the dark blue, and below that is like a green teal.
Yeah.
Is exactly where my eyes go, and then it just goes completely to the right, which should actually be your left, and flows around. It's just marvelously flowing.
And that's kind of the movement that I was looking to get. In this,
The trees.
yep, in this particular painting, by the way, there are a lot of layers. Usually I'll do 6, 7 layers on a painting. I learned to paint that way, with the old Rembrandt style. That's what you do. Thin painting, thin layers of painting on top of each other. So I bring that into here. This is probably one of the most, it was 10 or, I don't even know, what was it, 11 layers. So I was back to this working 11 times and layering. And that's why you see the color variations in soft, subtle ways and leaving some of it showing, but covering some of it up. And that's why you're
brings you
seeing
right
that.
in.
And it gives depth.
Yeah.
It gives depth.
Now, is that acrylic or oil?
That's acrylic.
It's acrylic.
Yeah, all of them have been the last 15 years or 18 years, something like that. Yep. So,
I just love the trees,
thank you.
those small, the branches going up.
Now, how long do you paint for?
Well, as long as my body will let me. There's periods of time where it hasn't let me for a long time, but now I'm in a good way.
You don't
And
sit?
No, I do not
You
sit.
don't sit on a stool or anything?
I take breaks, but I don't sit while I paint because this is small. My last 6 or 7 paintings have been this size, but prior to that, and now I've gone back, they're usually 2 foot by 3 foot, 3 foot by 4 foot. So you really have to stand to work on a canvas like that.
And you have to back away
You do. You have to step back and go back. I stand, and I take breaks. I can go 3 or 4 hours painting, and then I stop and I take a break, and then I come back. And some days I can go 8, 9 hours with breaks in between. Some days when the health hasn't allowed it in years, past years, then it's much less, 3 hours tops. And that's it for the day. So I have the ability to do that. When I have the ability to do that, that's what I do. I find, being that I work on such large canvases and I don't have a large studio space where I can step way back, I take photographs of my images. That's a lot of why I do that, because when I see it in a small screen, I can see it in a different light, and things pop out that might need to be changed, which I would not see if I'm standing in front of it. So.
And how do you frame these?
Well, thanks for asking. This is a system Mark and I set up this last year. And when I was in college at Alfred, I made like 4-foot by 6-foot paintings, 4 of them for my senior show. I stretched the canvases. And my father refinished antiques all my life. He worked with wood. He was really good with it. That was his thing. That was his passion. So he made these simple frames to go around these paintings, just to trim them, around the edges. And they were of this style. And I have one of them paintings at home. So as you all know, affordability, especially when you go with large canvases, you can go out the roof with the frames for these. Even the floater frames now, I don't know. I have one, and I never bought another one. I'm like, I can't do this. So that's what motivated me to see what else can be done in a more less expensive way. And so we came up with this. We took the design my dad had on that painting, and between the two of us, you need 2 people. You have to have 2 people. This is not you could try it, but you get very frustrated, I think. We came up with this system. It's just simple lath. We spray paint it. He cuts it, and then he cuts it again, and then he cuts it again until it's to my likings on the edges, and tack it down with some nails, and that's it. And you can remove it. It's not glued, and it does come out. So if for any reason, they're very tiny nails. So if anybody would want to reframe it or whatever, you can take them off and put it in another frame. So
And
thank you for
if
asking.
you wanted it a different color,
You could spray paint it a different
spray
one.
paint it any color.
Yeah, I've just chosen black, and I stay consistent with that, with all
It
of them now.
shows the work, beautiful.
It's a clean look. Yeah, yeah, it's a clean look.
Yeah.
It's a way of cleaning up the edges without, because many of the large canvases with the wider, I always buy the wider ones. You can take them to shows and leave them just painted on the edges, but there's always a little fringe and stuff like that on the corners. That's very acceptable, though. A lot of places will say, fine, bring them in. And but this just kind of added a little more tight, plus it gave a little edge around it. So I'm real happy with that.
Very, very.
All right. Yes, Sally.
We have a point of view about selling your originals. Do you preserve your originals, or do you sell them? Do you make large reproductions, or do you not make any reproductions?
Well, I do sell the originals. The way I look at it, and I've mentioned this to other people before, is if I put a painting out in a gallery, which I've gratefully had the opportunity to do many shows this past year I put out there, then I'm already ready to let it go. If I don't put it in the gallery, then it's still mine, and I don't want to sell it. And that is usually where I get to. I say if it's on the wall, it's for sale, and it's going to go. Now, that being said, recently I just started having prints made at the Bryant College. This is a new jump into. They've done one batch for me so far, and I'm just beginning to start to put them out. And that's just a new thing for me. So that's kind of where that goes. But as funny thing, I got a woman.
Now, are your prints the same size as your paintings?
No, these are smaller. They're 11 by 14. So I put a few of them out there. I went to Bryant College. They have a printing place in the college that they'll print for community as well as the college. I was turned toward them by someone else. They told me about it. So they do a nice job. I've been pleased with what I got from them so far. These are 11 by 14s. I had a couple smaller ones done too.
So those are sort of
small.
like stepchildren?
Yeah, I guess. But they're going to go for sale too. I don't know. I don't know. Then they're not like children. No, I don't sell to children. But yeah, it's one of them deals where it's like, personally, I've sold work on and off throughout the years. It's been sporadic here and there. Many of my big ones are more expensive, so I never really, I don't, if I sell one, I'm really excited, because I know what it's about. My purpose of doing my artwork now is very different than it was at the beginning. I get very excited if I'm going to sell a piece. I can't tell you I'm not flattered, because I am, but I would want to see somebody get a painting that really loved it and that would really enjoy it, and that it wouldn't end up in Salvation Army down the road. That's my desire. So when I sell a painting, I want someone to really enjoy it, because I'm sharing with them what, I'm sharing a piece of me with them, and that's more important to me now. And again, when I put them in galleries and stuff, I never anticipate selling artwork. I haven't for years. It's just like, I don't take paintings to a show and think, oh my gosh, I'm going to make $1 million. No, it doesn't work that way. I figured that out a long time ago. If I sell a piece, though, it's icing on the cake. I never plan on it. And I get excited, and I'm happy about it. But it's not I'm not expecting that when I put a piece in a gallery or in a show or whatever. To me, it's icing on the cake. I don't have to make a living with it. That's another reason I'm in a really good place for this now. I made a living at Human Service for almost 30 years, taking care of the elderly and disabled adults. That was my main career. And painting, I decided a long time ago, doing fine art, I am not going to make a living. If I went down the commercial track, I would have. But I chose not to do that. I wanted to follow the fine art path. And I'm glad I did. I've had the freedom to explore without being tied into a day of repeat. I would have gone nuts with that. And I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to walk this walk, and that I could continue to grow and experiment and do all these things with the art that way, and didn't get tied in, because I would have got bored. I just know I would have got bored of doing it, and that would have lost the enjoyment.
Taking advantage of the offers that you had of going to Italy, and at a young age, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people either go to Europe to travel for a year after college or something like that, or before or something, but to really take that master class that you did, that was suggested to you, and be working with wonderful mentors that you have, also prepared you took a risk at age 29, and it always has paid off since, so you're able to take more risks when you get older, because a lot of people don't ever know how to take a risk.
Yep.
They're afraid of failure.
Mm-hmm. I was courageous with that, and I look back now, but it wasn't just that. I had encouragement from the people that mattered. John Peasley encouraged me to go. My mother of 9 children who stayed home all the years that she was there told me to go. I was floored. I'm like, really, Mom? She would never have been able to do anything like that all her life, and she encouraged me. She encouraged me, and professors at college encouraged me. So I did have a very courageous free spirit, more back then than I do now, but I have to tell you that. But that was a big deal. That wasn't taken lightly. Like I said, it took me a year to decide whether or not I was even going to apply to go. But I have no regrets, and every bit of it has come to play in my art from there forward, and the experiences are fresh still, a lot of them in my memory, and they're very positive. And I think, wow, that was really awesome. And when I was there, I was so into it. I was old enough to know better, and and not getting into trouble and not doing a lot of things that the younger students did, and I was there for a serious reason. And so I took full advantage of every opportunity that I had to travel and see different things while I was there. I took in a lot of museums, all kinds of experience. If I was younger, I might not have done that, but that's where I was at. I'm grateful I could do it. Thank you. So, yes?
You know, in your talk, you were saying that you have to paint, it's in you to keep doing it. But have you ever run into a period in your life that you felt a block to do anything?
I don't know if it would be called a block. The desire wasn't gone, but I've gone through some really rough periods of my life through the years, you know, and as a lot of people do, you have rough spots where life just kicks your butt. And I had periods like that. And still I found a way to do the art because it was therapy for me. Like Jane said, that gave me a place of peace. That gave me a groundedness that nothing else that I did could do. And so I found a place to paint. And I don't think I ever had a block like, what am I going to paint? Or I don't want to paint anymore. I don't ever remember that happening. It was more like have had to go long periods because life is life, and I just desire it so much, and I just feel like I'm missing something, and I'm missing something that I enjoy doing, and that I just need to go back and find a way to do it however I can. So that's been my experience.
I actually thought that perhaps your husband might have said, if you stop painting, I'm going to force you to go camping.
No, he doesn't force me, except for on 20 days, 20 degrees. I'm like, no, I ain't doing the 20 degrees again. My bones were so sore by the time I was done. I was shivery. But I guess that might be what we can wrap it up a little bit. And oh, of course, you can look. And I thank you all so much for this opportunity. This was so exciting to do, and I'm so happy that I could share with you. Thank you.